Hi everyone, welcome to GuiNet Technologies, right? And today we are going to start our Zscaler architecture, right? Module. Earlier we discussed a few things about the basic of the Zscaler product overview, right? And in this module we are discussing about the Zscaler Internet Access. I hope you guys watched my previous videos where I explain about everything. What is my Zscaler Internet Access? What is my Zscaler Private Access? What is my JDX? So we'll discuss in very detail, and also we just briefly understand about the products. So I hope you guys go through that and you understand that, and then we understand about the Zscaler platform. What is a control plane, data plane, and the logging planes, statistics plane, and we try to understand about the chain. What is the Zscaler enforcement node, little bit, and how the policy can be driven with the help of the our central authority. That is again a new things we have, right? And GIA, public service edge, and Gen we understand. Log routers we still have to understand, and the statistics plane we understand, and how user is going to be connect from the branch offices to the any GIA, and why they are going to connect. I believe you having a little bit idea, and what does means zero trust exchange. So these all already we have done the discussion in the previous last two lectures, but now we are going to understand Zscaler architecture, or that is limited to the Zscaler GIA. So we are going to understand Zscaler Internet Access, basically architecture, right? So we'll do the deep dive. What is the Zscaler Internet architectures and how it looks like. And in addition of that, also we have discussed more about like module agenda, like what is the elements of the Zscaler clouds, right? Single skin multiple action, that is a SSMA, and traffic forwarding and authentication methods. Like this is a high level, we'll do the very deep level discussion in the later stage, and it's a high ability. So we'll try to explore each and everything step by step. We'll try to understand. So let's start. So first we try to understand what are the Zscaler elements, GS Cloud, Zscaler elements. So don't be confused about the products and elements, right? So I explained previously about the products platform. These are the completely different thing. But when I talk about Zscaler elements, that is a completely different things, right? And then we'll understand about the SSMA, single scan multiple actions, and traffic forwarding methods, we'll understand the overview, like, and we'll do the specific deep dive for the all traffic forwarding method authentications and many more, and high ability everything, right? And configuration, building, troubleshooting, actual overview, everything we'll understand. So let's start. So you guys see here one of the diagrams, right? And if I'm showing these diagrams, what basically what's basically question coming in your mind? So you can see a lot of pictures: admin console, global console, SAML, LDAP, Splunk, users, like they having a Gen. So Gen is equal to Zscaler enforcement node. So see here, Gen is equal to Zscaler enforcement node. So you guys can write it down. Different terminology might be you are seeing in the first time. You see the central authority. So you might be write this word also, right? You might be write down the SAMLs, right? This is the first time. Admin global console. This is the first time. This internet is common, right? And you can see here we having the log routers also, right? So we having a different scenarios, right? And based on the different scenarios, we are using different component and elements. So these are basically elements. So central authority is one element. Gen is the one element, right? Zscaler enforcement node is one element. SAML also, that is the one services behind this element that is going to mandatory use. Console, admin console is also going to be used, right? Your log router is also going to be nano log polyester also going to be used. Your nano log streaming services also. So these all are very relevant for you, all right? So if you're just understanding this particular solution, so probably you have to understand each and every component, right? So I hope just you guys write down about the different elements. Now understand what is the use of these elements and why basically we are using these elements, right? So basically whenever we just going to start Zscaler, right? So we having a three planes, right? So when I say three planes, so what does mean the three planes? So let me just open my, and how these elements are come in a picture while defining the three planes. So let me just open it. It's taking a little bit longer time, but let me see if it is going to be openable soon. So let it be. All right. So the same agenda I have just written here because the architecture and all. So what does means like why before I'm going to explain this all planes before I going to explain these all elements and all, right? So you just have to understand some prerequisite and concepts which is very important for you. So before I go and start explaining the Zscaler element, you should know how my router, how my firewalls works and what planes they have. Because Zscaler, you can see here, they are talking about the elements having a three planes: control plane, data plane, statistics plane. So do you have the similar stuff in my routers? Do you have similar steps in my the switches? Do you have the similar steps or like functionality in my firewalls? The answer is exactly yes. You keep using these planes in your routers, your firewalls, your switches, or any other networking or security devices. So if I'm giving the examples, if I'm giving the example, control planes, what is a control plane? So if you're doing the, if I'm talking about the router and example, any routings like OSPF, right? If you're using the BGP, right? If you're using the any routing protocol like REPI, GRP, anything static routing, they all are there part of the control planes. That means they are giving the instructions. And without instruction, you cannot switch the packets. You cannot switch the packets. So if you want to switch the packet from one interface to another interface, basically you just have to use this particular control plane device or device control plane intelligence, right? So routing is going to instruct how basically you have to choose the exit interface, right, based on the packet arrive in your device. So these are the control plane like protocols like OSPF, we having the BGP, right? We having the EIGRP or might be the RIP or any other protocol, you can just select it. What is the data plane, right? So data plane is nothing like the ingress or egress interface, means the packet is landed from this interface and going to out this interface, right? So might be this interface is a Ethernet 0x0, right? And this is a Ethernet 0x1. So the moment the packet landed to me and taken consultation from the control plane, and then finally they decided I just have to go this packet out, that is a data plane, means where you just transfer the data from one interface to another interface. So these are two primary components you just have to use in any router, any firewall, any switches. And then what is the statistics plane? So if we want to monitor this router remotely, you want to see what is my interface status, right? You want to check my any BGP neighbor went down or up, right? OSPF neighbor status, right? Any SNMP based monitoring, like any health monitoring, device monitoring, with CPU monitoring, SolarWind, you just want to integrate any other interface monitoring, interface goes down, up, any protocols, that's all going to be monitored. That who is going to provide that statistics? That is a, again, we have in the different tools are coming, different like most common is the SNMP protocols. You just configure and based on the MIB and the SNMP settings, they keep polling the devices information by the tools like with SolarWind, and we having the Snow tools. A lot of tools available in the market, and you just monitoring. So that is statistics. They are going to provide the device health status, device real-time status. What is happening my device? How traffic status? How traffic? What is the bandwidth utilization? Circuit utilization? Everything you're doing that. So this is something we keep using the same thing, right? But if I talk about what is the relevancy of this particular three planes for Zscaler, so yes, we have. So again, Zscaler having a three planes. We having a control plane, we having a data plane, and we having the statistics plane, right? Right, my dear friends. So if I talk about what is the data plane, what is the control plane, and what is the statistics plane. So probably you just have to understand, if I talk about anything about the control plane, that is something not similar to the routing, but you just think about your user ID, right? Your organization ID, right? Your location, right? Your like devices, right? So we having a lot of, based on the, user ID, location ID, company ID, even company ID, So policy, even the policy you're just going to configure policy, policy info, like whatever you just configure based on the user, right? So this policy intelligence, right? So we having a lot of, etc. We just having, I just given the most common usual examples, right? So these are the basically similar to the routing protocols. Just correlate. These are the basically Zscaler, OSPF, BGP, and other routing protocols. So if you want to, based on the user ID, you want to switch the traffic or you switch the data plane, you can do that. Based on the organization ID, you want to do that, you can do that, right? And based on the company ID, you want to do something, you can do that, right? So this is something you just have to understand how basically the control plane of the Zscaler and how basically control plane of the routers are differ to each other. So basically they differ in terms of the way of working. So we are not using any routing protocols. We are not using any switching concept, but yes, we are using the real-time organization name, user ID, device informations, company ID, policy, whatever going to, and based on that, we can making the intelligence in the Zscalers. I'll more explain how it is going to work about, right? But just think about the control plane is nothing. It's like the company ID. So you can, if you go here in my slide, you will find the more information, right? So if you see the control planes, the control planes, right? The brain and nervous systems that manage the entire cloud maintain list of the users. See here, groups, department, each of the unique ID, maintain all of the policy and the configuration for the company located in 3 to 4 data center disaster recovery. So what is the 3 to 4 data center? I'll explain. So if I talk about the control plane, right? So control plane is nervous system, brain of the Zscaler. And without this brain of the Zscaler, you cannot do any kind of the packet processing. So your packet is going to process based on your department ID, your user ID, your group ID, your unique ID, policies, whatever you're going to configure, they all are going to go. And in case of any disaster is going to happen for the one of the control plane, they are going to shift automatically to the another data centers. They having the lot of data center across the globe. So I hope you understand about the control plane. And it's a very important, guys, trust me. This control plane, you must know why I just explained the routers and routings, because you can correlate why OSPF, why AGRP, how they are going to make an intelligence. Similar, how user ID, device ID, organization ID, location ID, company ID, policy is going to make in my intelligence. Okay. So this is your actual control plane. Similar, if I talk about data plane here, my friend. So data plane is nothing. They are the chains. So you see, this is the chain, Zscaler enforcement node. So public service edge or chain, you just think about the same. So your packet need to be switched. So let's say suppose your packet arrived. Let me just clear it. Your packet arrive in particular user to the chain. They have to go on internet. So your packet arrive from that interface. These are the all physical device also across the globe. Data center is something what? They are the cloud, but still they having the data centers. Okay. So don't be confused. Cloud is nothing, something hanging in air. Okay. These are real devices, but they are known as a cloud because they are the centrally located and they have a very robust communication, very high capacity, high performing devices there. So devices are going to receive the packet, that chain or public services are going to receive the packet, and they are just going to do the processing with the help of the brain. Brain is the control plane, and that brain is known as the central authority, right? So again here, see, the brain is basically known as the control plane is known as the central authority. So here you can see that central authority. If you see the words, one of the element, this central authority is nothing. This is the brain of the Zscaler. Okay. So if you want to perform the control planes, so user must consult to brain. User must consult to brain. If brain allow, then only it is going to redirect to the gen, right? And then gen is going to make a successful connection with the internet. So this is the core concept, guys. We are not going to discuss about the more in deep, but high level, because people are very confused about that, how the traffic flow is going to happen. So in high level, let's suppose take this is the brain of the router and you want to go on the internet. So you just, your PC must go to the router as a gateway address. A router will check the, based on the destination, their routing tables based on the OSPF, BGP or a static routing, right? And based on checking this static routing, they will tell you the what is the next hope to go to the internet. Similar way, in this particular Zscaler, central authority, which is known as the brain nervous system control plane, central authority is known as the cloud central authority is the brain nervous system. It is responsible basically how packet is going to be switched. If the certain routing parameters similar, what routing parameters we have to match? Here we just have to match the group ID, department ID, unique ID, policies, whatever they have configured, and according to that they are going to process. So your control plane is a central authority which is responsible to do all kind of checks and processing the packet, and your gen is acting as a data plane where gen is Zscaler enforcement node, is a high speed inspection and the policy enforcement, connecting identify only by user ID, single scan, multi actions, traffic inspection and the forwarding. Right, traffic process in the memory is never right today. This is the masterpiece from the Zscaler. Trust me, guys. So while doing the traffic processing, for the data planes, your traffic never write in the disk, never write in Zscaler disk. It is always right in the memory, and from memory it is going to be processed. Once processing has been done, memory has been free. So even the hacker wanted to, hack your traffic, inspect your traffic and do something, they're never going to do that because you're never going to put something in the storage point of view, not in your hard disk. So see, let's say suppose I want to steal something from your house. So it's easy for me. I can steal something from a house. I can break your lock. I can go inside and I can, get some, out from your house. But I want to steal something from your mind and you don't want to tell, then how it is possible? Unless even you kill me or you can just damage my mind, still you cannot get the informations because something in my mind. So this is the masterpiece. When doing the data processing, while doing the data switching, whenever the process, they always process the traffic forwarding in the memory, never return to the disk, right? Never written in a disk. So if it is not going to return in a disk, nobody is going to hack. Right? So this is a data plane of the Zscaler, right? So I hope you guys understand the control plane and you understand the data plane. Just let me know in case if you're watching in the YouTube or somewhere else or my official website, just write an email if you're having any query. I'll help to clarify on that, right? But this is very important. Just correlate about this routing again. This is very important. Now we left with the statistics plane. So why this statistics plane is very important? Again, in router, I explained you have to monitor, you have to check the health, you have to monitor the circuits and everything. So then you need the statistics plane. So if you want to monitor each and everything, so you require the statistics plane for the router point of view, switch point of view, the firewall point of view. Similar in the Zscaler, if you want to scalable reporting, you want to analyze the loggings and you want to make the any kind of report to just showcase your management, just analyze and check how my health is working, how my device is working, and you want to log, you want to view the logs and everything, that it is going to help with the help of the statistics plane. The all reporting, all information is going to pull and they are just going to provide the high visibility, right? So this is how a statistics plane is going to work. So these all are basically for the logs. Okay, so I hope you understand. So now let me just go back again to the Zscaler element about the architectures. So if I'm going to Zscaler element architecture, so you can see here in this architecture, let's assume this is the users, right? And this user wanted to access the internet. So let me just draw here. So might be we just having this might be here is the, or might be he wanted to access here google.com. Oh, sorry, let me write here. So he might be access google.com. So this is the google.com posted here. So once this is going to be, initiate the connection to access this google.com. So again, I'm giving the overview, high level. So you just understand. Later we'll discuss the low level in upcoming lectures. So first thing, this user must be, authenticated. This user having their laptop, right? this laptop having the Zscaler, GCC app should be installed. Even that is not going to be installed. There is another way we can just use that, but just think about, or just for time being, just forget, not be confused. Simple, make it simple. Okay. So this is a client and want to access the google.com and sitting in the office. So what they are going to do? First, they will authenticate with the SAML LDAP, right? This is one of the recommended authentication method in the, Zscaler. So once the authentication is going to be happen, they will basically try to reach, right? Try to reach Zscaler gen. And after reaching the Zscaler gen, they will try to contact central authority for the control plane informations. So central authority basically is going to verify the users, right? Hey, user XYZ, you come to me, then it will check for this XYZ user, do we have any kind of the policy allowed to access the google.com? Or this is the valid user basically who should access the google.com. His company ID is valid, his department is valid, his group ID is valid, his organization ID is valid. So these all is going, because see what the parameters we have, don't have routing. We have these all parameters, department, group, user, list, company ID, unique ID. And based on that, basically, they are going to, validate users. And after validating, they will say, okay, you're fine to, send the traffic. So once they authorize them, they enforce the policy and provide the connection ID, then they basically race to the gen, and gen, start doing the processing the traffic. And this processing never is going to be written in the gen disk. They always process in the memory. This is the masterpiece. Again, I'm repeating. Okay. And based on that your connection, they intercept your connection, and based on you, if everything is fine, they initiate the connection toward the google.com. And once the google.com is going to reply you, they again reply back to you. So this is how it is going to work, right? So basically central authority is going to basically provide the complete visibility about the users, what application, what kind of the like company ID, everything. And then Jane is going to just, forward the traffic to the any kind of the internet access on behalf of you. And you just have to, no need to worry about your IP address, NAT and everything. That's simply going to the Jane, and Jane is going to forward to the google.com, yahoo.com, whatever you want to go. And then it is going to happen. Now, two things we understand very high level. One is for the gen and one is the central authority connection. Now, how they are going to use or leverage the GCC or Zscaler statistics plane, right? So in Zscaler statistics plane, what is going to happen? They basically going to, help to, because they are processing more than 300 trillions and billions and billion traffic on a daily basis, right? Daily basis they are doing. So it's very hard to, manage the logs for those, real time logs, because a lot of customers are using the Zscalers. So it's very hard to manage those logs. So how the logs is going to be, manageable, right? So log is going to manageable in terms of this way. Whatever logs we are going to receive, right? Whatever logs we are going to receive from the any processing point of view, right? So the Zscaler basically going to like compress the logs. How it is going to compress? 30x log is going to be compressed. So whatever the logs you are just sending, you just think about you just making the size lower than, right, whatever the actual value by the help of 30x. So you're just minimizing the logs by 30x. And then with the help of the log routers, every regions, every location, they having the log routers, right? And they are just sending those location to the log routers. And further, your log routers basically, by the help of the log router, you can maximum store the logs, right? You can maximum store the logs for the 6 month as per the Zscaler policy, not more than that. Okay. And you're already by the using of the WAN top optimization, whatever the logs you are receiving, you're just making this smaller by the 30x, right? So you're already doing this 30x compression by the WAN optimization, and then you can use and retrieve those logs up to 6 months. But still, right? Still, you want to analyze or save your logs in your company local database, right? If you want to do that in company or local database, still you having a freedom to do that. So there is a feature called, right, there's a nano log streaming. So why nano log? So nano log routers, basically these are the nano log clusters. So they make the nano log cluster. So different regions, like we having the EMEA, USA, APAC, private. So all basically keeping the logs in the cluster. So if anything is goes down, anything is like disaster happening, so basically other logs, other cluster region having the logs information, and you want to stream those logs information from my company point of view in my data center, my network. So I have to use the nano log streaming services, that is on NSS. And by using the NSS services, I can just, by the help of the Splunk, I can retrieve all the logs, and further I can store as per my need, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, whatever I want to use. So this is how basically going to in terms of the nano log collection, right? So these all three component means the first, let me just recap it. So first, if any user is going to start the google.com access, their traffic is going, once they have to send the TCP SYN, right? So I'll discuss in very detail. TCP sync is going to be sent by the user after authentication. That TCP SYN is going to be intercepted by the GEN, right, Zscaler enforcement node, and this is also having the component that is central authority. They will just check based on the user TCP SYN what the policy need to be enforced, what the connection ID need to be allowed, how the different website or application need to be allowed, and then they will just force like they will just make the connection from the gen to the any application whatever you want to do on behalf of you, and once they will get the reply, it is going to provide to reply to the user. So this is how it is going to happen. So I hope this control plane, data plane, right, or statistics plane we understand. Right now, next we understand about different topic about the packet forwarding method, about this single scan and multiple access and high availability in the next lecture. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.